Hey there, Eddie here. If you're wanting to add a Firebase plugin to your NativeScript app, then you've come to the right place. Let's take this paint together and walk through the installation steps because it's a bit harder than the average plugin. So this is the repository with the README, and let's basically walk through this README and set up Firebase and also add an anonymous login to our app just to show it off. So I'm going to replace this instruction video by the one I'm recording now. And yeah, well, let's get going. First thing first, go to the Firebase console and create a new project. The other one here is for the demo app that we also have. Firebase test 3. Looks like a good name for me. Country, region, doesn't really matter. I'm not in the United States, but let's pretend I am. And then you're taken to your app and you have all these nice features you can add later over here, and a lot of them are already exposed through the plugin and some others will follow. We want to add Firebase to Android and iOS because I have two devices here on my right. So let's do Android first. But first things first, we need to have a NativeScript app. So tns create Firebase test 3, and as a template I'd like to use this template, which I really like because it is the Hello World template with TypeScript support. So I need to cd into this folder, and there I can echo my package.json because I need this application ID, which I need to paste over here. All the other bits in here you can just ignore because the plugin handles it for you, or it is documented in the README on how to add the specifics. So that's the Android app. Also add the iOS app. It's the same package ID. Add it. You'll get a plist and ignore everything else. So finish, and there we have our two apps. So let's go back to the README. What we need to do now is copy over those two downloaded files to our project. So for iOS, you have the plist file, which need to go to app resources iOS Google Services info plist. Alright, so I have the Finder open over here. Here's my plist file. This is our freshly created project. App resources iOS, and just paste it over here. And for Android, there's Google Services JSON, which needs to go to platforms Android. Alright, so let's do that. Go up a bit, go to platforms Android. Oh, and it's not there yet because I need to add tns platform add Android. Wait for it. And there you go. Let's go in, paste it over there. And while we're at it, we also of course need the iOS platform. Alright, let's close that. And let's open up the project in Visual Studio Code. So here you go, here are the two platforms. Our plugin isn't there yet because that's the next step. And we have the project, which is based on the Hello World NativeScript template with a onTap function. So let's go to the next step and add the plugin. There you go. You'll see that in Node modules the new plugin will be installed. Oh, there it is. Alright, also install TypeScript because I really like it. And because this plugin offers TypeScript support by adding a TypeScript definition file over here, you want to add it to your project's references file, so your code editor is able to use code completion for the plugin and also type checking. So let's continue. For Android, we're not done yet. We need to open up the app resources Android app Gradle file. So let's go over here, open up the Gradle file, and you can see that there's this application ID over here. In the previous version of the CLI, it was like this. Now it's like this, but I think there's still an issue open to actually substitute those variables with the real value. So we need to insert our package ID manually. I think this step will be gone in a very short while, but we need to do this right now. Then open up Platforms Android Build Gradle. I hope to be able to find a way to automate this bit as well, but at the moment I'm not smart enough, so I have to do this. You have to do this manually. This bit will make sure that your Google Services JSON, this one, will be picked up by your app. Otherwise, when running the app, your app will start to complain and you won't be able to connect to Firebase. So that's it. That's iOS and Android setup really. So we can now look at using this beast. So there's this demo app you can also look at, but let's not do that. And let's look at the documentation here. The most important thing to do now is initializing Firebase, because especially on iOS we need to do some wiring when starting your app with Firebase support, and there's a few features which you can also add to your Firebase plugin, which need to wire things to the app delegate, which means, for instance, push notifications need to be handled directly by your app, and then control will be given to your app through plugin methods. But we really need to capture those events as soon as possible, so that's why you need to add a few bits to your bootstrap file. So before application start fires, you want to add this configuration. So I'm going to type a bit just for fun, otherwise I'm only copy pasting everything today. You can see all the functions which are supported by the plugin at the moment. And oh, why is this red? Why is this red? Oh, property URL is missing. Yeah, okay. So I need to fix something in the plugin, and I'm going to push that to the repo after I recorded this, because there's this URL over here which previously was required in the Firebase 2 SDK, but it's no longer required in the Firebase 3 SDK. So we can just remove it. It's been, if you wonder, it's been replaced by that downloaded JSON and plist file you saw earlier. So that's console log Firebase init done, and you may get an error. For instance, if you would have forgotten to copy that JSON file, Firebase init error, and you want to know about that error, right? Otherwise it will just silently fail. So that's it, and why not run it on Android right away? So we should see that log statement once the application starts. And one note about the emulators as well. This is Genymotion, and I have manually installed the Play Services package, which you can Google for, because if you don't install it on Genymotion, you won't be able to run your Firebase app. So you might as well use a real device if you have one. And on iOS, it's actually my iPhone 5S. Because I have multiple apps installed on the simulator, and there's an issue in the Firebase SDK, which Google knows about, where these apps are interfering with each other, which doesn't happen on a real device, so that's my way of avoiding it, really. So it's installed on Dailymotion, and yeah, there it is, Firebase in and done. So we got everything wired up correctly, and the tab doesn't do anything, of course, at the moment. And why not also do this for iOS? But in the meanwhile, I'm going to look at the next step. So we've done this, and then you can implement features. So the real-time database is of course very neat, but I'm not going to talk about that today. Remote config is like feature toggles for your app, which is also very useful. Cloud messaging is FCM, which is the successor to GCM, which is used to send push messages to your app. And through FCM you can also send push messages to iOS devices, which is very cool. But that's also beyond the scope of this demo. So I'm going to do a little thing with authentication. So enabling authentication, there's a few options. Anonymous, which I'm going to use now because it's the easiest. There's also email with password, custom authentication, where you can offload it to your backend. And there's also Facebook, which is a bit of a work in progress, but it's working great on iOS and Android. It's just a bit harder to set up, but I'll probably do another video on a few of these features later. So anonymous login, I have two samples for JavaScript and TypeScript. And let's open up the file where this tab button taps into. And that's the main view model TS. So what we need to do here again is import the Firebase module. Just do it over here at the top. And then you can add the code, right? So firebase.login, and then there's options, which, well, there isn't really an option, but it's complaining. So what are you complaining about, buddy? Type is missing. Oh yeah, of course, because I want to tell Firebase to use the login type anonymous. And then when that's done, I want to get back a user, and that user has a few properties, and depends a bit on the way you log in. In this case, well, in all cases, you'll get back a user UID. So let's alert that. And also, in case there's an error logging on, for instance, well, I'll show you an error just for fun. So alert the error. And I think we're all set to deploy this on, well, let's do Android first. By the way, you saw that I tried to run it on iOS, but sometimes, and especially on real devices, the TNS has a bit of an issue. It struggles to deploy it to your device. I'm not sure what's causing it, but there's a very simple workaround. So I'll show you what to do. And if you have another or a better idea how to fix that, then please let me know. But it doesn't bother me too much. So build it for Android, and it should run in a second. And then we'll tap the button, and we'll be able to at least try to log on anonymously. So there we go. Tap. There you go. Firebase exception, internal error has occurred, operation not allowed. Okay, so let's run iOS first. Let's see what iOS alerts us about, because I think that alert is a bit more developer friendly, although you can probably figure out why you get this error. I'm gonna let you think about that for a second while I'm building for iOS. So what I wanted to tell you about deploying to iOS is you need a little npm package called IPA deploy. So you run that, and then you, as the argument, you give it the IPA that was just built, and then it's going to install it on your device, and you'll see it popping up over here. There it is, and you can run that. But the downside of it this way is that you won't see anything in your console over here. You'll have to inspect the Xcode. So I'm going to tap the button, and there you have it. It's a bit more user-friendly. The given sign-in provider is disabled for this Firebase project. Enable it in the Firebase console under the sign-in method tab of the auth section. So that's a great message. And indeed, in my application, in the console, there's this auth option. There's no users yet, but there's this sign-in method, and this is the list of supported methods, and nothing has been enabled for my app. So I'm going to enable it here. Save that. I'm going to tap that button again while I'm at the users page. Here we go, tap. There you have it, user ID and then the UID. And let's refresh this page, and there it is. It's supposed to be the same ID that you see over here, right? And let's do the same on Android. Tap here, user ID, someone else of course, and it's also over here. So if anyone is manipulating your database, you'll now know which user did it, and you're also able to restrict access to your data paths. Hey Mike, to certain users, give certain users write or read access, etc. And you're able to do that for all user types, really. So that's anonymous login. Yeah, so I think when you're at this point, you've achieved a lot, because adding all the other bits is way easier. So well, let's say have fun with Firebase, and well, I'll be doing feature videos about other Firebase options later on. So watch this space. See ya.